Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich. And by New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation, New Orleans, where stories are created. This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area.
Good evening, I'm Peggy Scott Laborde and welcome to Steppin Out, spotlighting the New Orleans area's arts and entertainment scene. Seated at our table tonight, Poppy Tucker, host of the radio program Louisiana Eats, airing weekly on WWNO Radio. Great to see you, dear, once again.
Peg.
Hello. He's back, Chuck Perkins, who will be sharing news all about this weekend's Sacred Music Festival at the New Orleans Healing Center. Great to see you, sir. Hey. And Alan Smason of theatercriticism.com. Hey, Alan. Later on, we'll have performances by ragtime pianist Steve Pistorius and his band, and Chuck. Both the Ragtime and Sacred Musical Festival take place all this weekend. It's just sort of amazing how that comes together. But first up, Poppy.
Well, you know, it's been a fabulous week this week, and it started off for me Tuesday night at the Audubon Institute with the Sea Lion Supper. If any of the viewers have never taken advantage of one of those experiences, it was fabulous at the Sea Lion Pond, under the oaks. It was beautiful. And so I've got this scoop that the next dinner, they're very limited numbers, Wednesday, June the 12th, with the lions. You can go have dinner with the lions. It's cocktails in the new lion exhibit, and then dinner in the Louisiana Swamp
What a good
exhibit.
idea.
And of course, you and I both spent a lot of time this week at the historic New Orleans collection. I just had to ask you, do you think I look like a sofa? Actually, this dress I bought in the gift shop.
Oh, wow.
They have a whole
520
line
Royal.
of beautiful dresses that are inspired, well, they're done by Passion Lily, and they're inspired by different textiles and such in the Kemper Williams home. And this is what was in Lila Williams' sitting room, you see. So it is her sofa, so I could, but anyway, I love this dress.
Beautiful.
Everybody needs to go shopping there. And they can do that at the block party on Sunday. From 1 until 5, they're having a party for the whole city, and there'll be delicious food from their new cafe that's located right in the new build, a Cafe Core from Carmo's owners, Dana and Christina Hahn. It's a healthy vegan, vegetarian with pescatarian offerings, all inspired by Louisiana foodways and heritage food. They're striving to be sustainable both in their food sourcing and in all of their low waste. Christina's baking genius is on display. There's soups, beautiful salads, sandwiches. We showed the picture of what they're calling a muffulettu, which they say is a Sicilian ancestor of the muffuletta with local tuna and anchovy paste and just yumminess. And they have small plates too, including black-eyed pea kala, which are really akara, you know, from Africa.
Oh, yes,
And so the cafe is open just like the museum is, Tuesday through Saturday, 9:30 to 4:30, and Sunday, 10:30 until 4:30. And I also wanted to remind everybody that Copper Vine has a fabulous new brunch menu. You know, that's in the Mailey site, you know, on Poydras.
Beautiful.
Saturdays and Sundays, 10:30 to 3 p.m. Unlimited mimosas and poinsettias for only $20 a person. New dishes like chicken fried duck confit, shrimp and grits, a Dutch baby pancake with macerated berries. And you know, in a nod to Mailey's signature cocktail, something we might have had a few one day, Mayor Ruffignac. That is one of their house drinks with cognac, raspberry shrub, simple syrup, and topped with a little sparkling wine. So yum. I'll see you all at Copper Vine after we go to the Historic New Orleans Collection.
And we should point out there's so much going on at the Historic New Orleans Collection, and there are different campuses, but hnoc.org for all the information about all the upcoming things. But 520 Royal is dear to many of our hearts because that used to be the location of Channel 6.
Miss Muffin. muffin.
Miss Muffin, that's right, exactly.
And it's unlike anything they've ever had before. Isn't it incredible?
Oh, it is so beautifully done. 4 years in the making.
And
4
worth
years.
every year.
Just gorgeous. And thank you so much, Poppy.
Thanks, Peg.
And Tonya Excho, founder of the New Orleans Ragtime Orchestra, stopped by our studio earlier, along with pianist Steve Pistorius and members of his band, to give us a taste of this weekend's festivities. For anyone who loves New Orleans traditional jazz, they also love ragtime, because that's where it all came from initially, didn't it?
That's right.
Those early days, of course, of Scott Joplin and of the fine ragtime composers. There's a whole weekend, and it's around town, isn't it?
You're right. Saturday in the day, we're going to be at the New Orleans Jazz Museum, and Saturday night, we're going to be at the Little Gym Saloon upstairs in the Ramp Room. Sunday is going to be at the Rock and Bowl.
Okay, very good. And Steve Pistorius has been one of the stars this weekend. And Steve, year-round, where can we find you?
I'm on the Steamboat Natchez quite a few days a week, at least 4 days a week. I play Preservation Hall, Buffa's every Sunday night. I play the Bombay Club sometimes, all over town, wherever they'll have me.
Sounds good. Now, one of the things I'm excited about tonight, because his band is going to be playing, is that we also have the Watch Your Step Vintage Dance Troupe, and they're from San Diego. They're all dressed up. You'll meet them shortly. San Diego and from Denver. But how great it is to have folks coming in from out of town who love the music, too.
It's excellent. I love it. I love producing it, and I love having them come in and visit the city and show off their steps.
Well, clearly you have a passion. Once again, that website.
www.theneworleansragtimefestival.com.
Congratulations for all your hard work. And Steve, introduce our band.
All right. On the upright bass, we have Ben Fox. On the clarinet, we have the legendary Orange Kellin.
Legendary.
Yes. Yes. And on the tenor banjo, we have Maxwell Poulos.
Okay, great. Welcome, gentlemen. And what are you playing for us tonight?
We're going to play an old ragtime number from 1908 written by composer Henry Lodge called The Temptation Rag.
Well, let's begin. that the 4th annual New Orleans Ragtime Festival is going on now until Sunday. By the way, the New Orleans Ragtime Orchestra, headed by Lars Edegren, off to, up in the middle, the second one from the left, I should say. They have a performance tomorrow, and that is at the New Orleans Jazz Museum, the old U.S. Mint, right there in Esplanade. And Sunday night, the new Leviathan Oriental Foxtrot Orchestra at Rockin' Ball, all part of the festival. Visit the festival's website for a full schedule. And New Orleans Magazine's quiz queen, Julia Street, has a question for us. Last time, Kent Adams told us what Tennessee Williams said were the only great cities in the United States. Well, all the rest were Cleveland, the cities, New York, San Francisco, and of course, New Orleans. Now, tonight's question. A New Orleans performer and the Rolling Stones both performed this song in 1964. Name the local performer and the song. Email your answers to steppinout@wyes.org. Alan has that knowing look. Okay, and some of the prizes include a year subscription to Louisiana Life magazine, a dish towel with the message Olive Lucy from our friends at Wearable Vegetables, a pair of free admission passes to either the Audubon Zoo, Aquarium of the America, or the Butterfly Garden and Insectarium. By the way, the zoo will be hosting this year's Asian Heritage Festival this Saturday from 10:30 to 4:30. And to learn more, you just go to their website. And you can go to our website at WYES.org to see our online calendar of events, including the UNO Library's used book bazaar that's this Saturday at the library. You can link to our WYES YouTube channel to see our program. And now, Chuck, what a Saturday that Healing Center is going to have tomorrow. Goodness gracious, Deacon John, we have a cantor, Joel, and yourself. Tell us about the day.
You know, this is the 8th annual Sacred Music Festival, and I'm so very proud to be a part of this because, you know, in our society right now, there's a lot of divisiveness, but right now we are bringing together people from all sorts of racial, cultural, religious backgrounds. There's going to be a Muslim call to prayer. There's going to be people from the gospel tradition, from African Yoruba traditions, from Celtic sacred musical traditions, Hindu, Buddhist.
Love it.
It's going to be all right there.
And some scenes from last year, and of course, Cafe Istanbul, which you happen to manage, you run. And look at Deacon John. We love Deacon singing Ave Maria.
The legendary Deacon John.
The legendary Deacon John, absolutely.
And there were some Japanese drummers there, and actually they're going to be back again this year. I mean, when we first started this like 8 years ago, I wasn't sure if we would be here 8 years later, but I'm very happy that we are. And it's a beautiful, beautiful gathering of people. And I think, you know, it's a idea of what we can be when we are working together. Absolutely. And we're working at our best.
Yeah, and of course, go to the website. And the New Orleans Healing Center is a very special place. There's a food co-op. There's all kinds of spaces. There's different little stores. But it's primarily a nonprofit to really encourage people for spiritual wellness and physical too with the food co-op.
That's right. And
Cafe Istanbul
and
for
mental as well, mental and emotional.
Yeah, all of the above. Lots of great music. And there's Seed, the vegetarian restaurant.
We have a new vegetarian restaurant there. Actually, some people may not know it. I guess maybe in the last year or so, you could we do pet grooming and whatnot. You can go there and get a haircut.
All kinds of. It's right across. Just in case if you haven't been, it's on St. Claude, right across from St. Roch Market, which is looking good
That's right.
too.
2372 St. Claude Avenue. It's in the old. Most people might remember the Universal Furniture
Store.
That's exactly
yes.
You know where it is.
Where you are going to perform for us tonight. Tell us about the poem that you're going to.
Well, it's just a poem. I actually wrote this poem when I was living in Chicago, and I had a friend who passed away several years back. But he wrote this beautiful, beautiful poem about the city of Chicago because that's where he was from, you know. And I would hear him do this poem, and I would always be so envious and jealous. And so I said, you know what? You know, I'm from New Orleans, and I have the same. Even though I was living in Chicago at the time, I had the same sort of attachment to the city. So I said, I'm going to write this love poem to New Orleans. And so that's
very
it.
good. What time are you performing?
Well, I'm going to be emceeing, and also about 2 o'clock, I'm going to be performing for some kids.
Okay, good.
Like me and
adults can come too. Can't they?
Adults can come. Adults can come as well.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
and
Peggy.
now, though, let us hear from Chuck Perkins with an original work.
If your American dream is neatly folded in the corner of Norman Rockwell's mind, and New Orleans is a hurricane beating down your coast. But if you close your eyes and feel the easy ride of the St. Charles streetcar, where a solo tuba blows the scent of magnolias down narrow streets and everyone plays possum with the heat and no one's too big or too small to paint their tongue with a snowball, where former slaves pay homage to the first Americans by masking in suits of rhinestones and bright-colored feathers that turn carpenters into Indian chiefs, doing rain dances on Congo Square where the drums drum and the wine drink and the big chief sang. Somebody give me a quarter, 'cause pretty big chief wants some water. If you can envision the souls of yesterday living in the music that rises from the cracks in the sidewalk, then New Orleans is your dream, with a heart as soft as the Spanish moss dripping from centuries-old oak trees. She's a pretty face with dirty feet, the good witch of Lake Pontchartrain, the spice god of shrimp and crawfish, keeping the spirits fed. Communities of windowless monuments masquerading as cemeteries tower above ground. No earth or worms to cover the flesh, no silver bullets to turn out the spirits that still dance with her. So twirl your umbrella and wave your bandana. It's carnival time and everybody's happy. Armed with the blueprints of civilization, the New World stormed in with enough cement and asphalt to pave a boulevard back to Paris. And the spirit of the swamp still hasn't submitted, leaving mildewed kisses of disapproval on everything foreign to the wetlands. Catholicism could not turn out the spirit of Marie Laveau. The wrecking ball could not turn out the spirit of Storyville. And death could not turn out the spirit of Louis Armstrong. When yesterday hangs on to forever, tradition is a temple.
Right, and a reminder that the 8th, can you imagine, the 8th Sacred Music Festival is tomorrow. That's once again at the New Orleans Healing Center. Visit the festival's website to see the full schedule. And now it is time for our Artist Spotlight. Tonight we are featuring the artwork of Lisa Tinka Jordy. And first of all, we have Gaia. Jordy specializes in fired stoneware clay sculptures. This one is also, wait, look at that, it's called Grace. Her newest exhibit, titled Seeking the Ephemeral, at the Carol Robbins Gallery, that's at Napoleon Magazine. A reception will take place tomorrow night at the exhibit, and it runs from April 6th to the 30th. Visit the gallery's website for more info. Now, Alan!
I want to come by the spiritual festival, Sacred Music. I want to come by and I want to introduce Cantor Coleman and say, let's get ready to daven, because that's what's going to happen, I'm sure.
He's great.
Anyway,
the motorcycle
absolutely.
fan,
And
huh?
he was feted just a couple weeks ago by his Temple Sinai. Great job he does. So let's move on a little bit to some of the plays that are on the boards here locally. The one that had its world premiere, this is called Azul. And of course, that's Spanish for blue. And I'll explain a little bit of that in a little bit. But Azul probably could not have been written by anyone other than Christina Quintana. Christina, you may remember, was an undergraduate here in New Orleans and was an intern at Southern Rep. So she got to know a lot of the people and lived here for a long time. She's now living in New York. She's a playwright who has done quite well for herself. You know, she actually hails, at least her family, from Cuba. She has lines that not only are here in Louisiana and New Orleans, of course, but she also has family ties that go all the way back to the island of Cuba. And of course, that extended back to the time before the Cuban Revolution. Now, of course, at that time, many people left because of the revolution. Many people stayed. One of the things that Azul explores is the LGBTQ community, especially the ability for people to be able to practice their relationship, if you will, practice their loving relationships. We have that freedom in the United States we take for granted many times, but in Cuba it was very repressed and still is to a large extent. And so a lot of people who felt that they wanted to be able to be with their loved ones had to sort of set up a situation where they would have their loved one perhaps stay on and there'd be another person living in there. And of course, nobody would know if there was a man living with two other women, whether or not that was some sort of relationship that was being consummated, if you will, by the two women, or perhaps with just a lady staying with a married couple. So that's the extent of it. Azul being blue is representative of what we have, which is, if you will, a fiction. And that is that we see the sky as blue because that's what filters out. But in reality, the sky is black. And that's sort of what she's saying in this play, that a lot of us are not able to see what's going on with relationships. Now, how is this explored? Well, there's a couple of people who are having a relationship in the United States, one of whom hails from Cuba. That's Christina Hathaway. She plays Zelia. And the other is Sal Marino, who plays Lore. And basically, they go back to Cuba after the death of her mother to explore the relationships that actually happened prior to the Cuban Revolution and afterwards, again, through this repression. You also have another lady in there who plays the mother, a longtime Zulima Guevara. She's very good. She plays Yadra and Esther. And again, they have another person who plays music. They really get you into the mood for Cuba with the musician who's there, played by Sarah Quintana. I believe that's a relation. And also a great scenic design at Southern Rep. They do a really great job. This is by Kimberly Powers. The director of this, Estefania Fadul, does really a great job of translating the words from the page onto the stage. And I have to say that this is a very interesting play. Again, the world premiere, it's tautly written. I thought it was really wonderfully expressed. And, one of the things that I think it has is a universality of love that's expressed between two people, no matter what particular bent they are in terms of gender or whatever. It is really an expression of commitment, an expression of support for each other. So, again, I recommend people go see this. It's a really wonderful work and one that I think is going to be in line for some awards. I really think the writing is that good. Okay, that's going to be Azul playing through April the 14th at Southern Rep on Bayou Road. Let's move on to one of my mainstays. Everybody knows how much I love musicals. One of my favorite Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals, if not my favorite, is South Pacific. South Pacific is now premiering tonight on the boards at Jefferson Parish's Performing Arts Center on Airline Drive. It is, of course, a big cast, 50 members with 40 actors. You're not going to see a much bigger cast. Last year's production that they did of The Hunchback of Notre Dame had a few more people, but this is just a giant cast. And again, led by Mandy Mueller. You may remember her. She was the person who was one of the Victory Bells. She's been on stage on a couple of productions. Mandy is, of course, Nellie Forbush. George Cordes, an opera singer. Great Emile Debec. I think he did, a wonderful job of capturing the essence, as well as Lieutenant Cable, played by Kevin Thomas Harvey, who has a great tenor, and he really does an exciting job of hitting all the right notes and beautiful, rich tones. Marie Becknell, you've seen, comic actress, of course, a great Bloody Mary as well. And Enrico Canella, you may remember, he was the Hunchback last year. He's come back to play Luther Billis. Now, these are all great characters. You all remember them. The great songs, of course, everything from Some Enchanted Evening to Twin Soliloquies to all the many colorful pieces of that. Again, Frank DeHoven is the music director, Dennis Assaf, the conductor. I really recommend this really highly. Get out there and go see South Pacific. Great for all the family. Yes. Okay, so that's going to be on just for the next 2 weekends. So don't forget, I think the tickets are $25 on up. But what a super cast. And again, congratulations to Dennis and all the people who put on that wonderful set of shows that they have out there. Also, Loyola Theater has announced their slate of seasons, if you will, their arts and dance for coming up in the coming weeks and months. In October, we're going to have You Can't Take It With You, an old comedy, if you remember. Then A Tragedy of Romeo and Juliet in November. And then Cabaret, the musical, will be playing on weekends, March the 20th through the 28th. And one last shout out, we don't get a chance to talk about the wonderful job they do at the World War II Museum and the Stage Door Canteen, BB Stage Door Canteen. This time they're doing Jump Jive and Wail. They're also, of course, having the Victory Bells on from time to time. But this is the music of Louis Prima. Again, this was done with his daughter, Lena Prima, had actually helped them get this thing fleshed out. This stars, of course, Christina Perez and Tom Hook on piano. A great show. Go see it. It also has an opportunity for you to see what they offer in terms of food from the American Sector restaurant. And Poppy, I don't know if you've been there, but they do a good job in terms of coming out with some great dishes as well. So again, that's Christina Perez, Tom Hook, and that's going to be playing until this weekend. So, get your tickets in quick.
Thank you so much, Alan. And now it's time for our picks. Puppy.
The Nowfie Grand Tasting for wine lovers. It's the ultimate event tomorrow from 2 until 5 at the Sugar Mill, new location. Tickets are $149 at the door.
Okay, Chuck.
I just want to remind everybody about the Sacred Music Festival tomorrow starting at 9 a.m.
All right, good. And going into the early evening, too. Huh?
I think we're going to go to about 9 p.m.
Okay, well, 12 hours. Very impressive. Okay, Alan.
If you look on the Crescent City Jewish News, you'll see a feature article on Lyra Auerbach. She has written an a cappella opera, an hour in length. It's going to be playing for the final time Saturday and Sunday for the Opera Association, and it's going to be held at the Marigny Opera House.
All right. Well, before my picks, I wanted to say congratulations to local author and restaurant public relations expert and dear friend Bonnie Warren, mutual friends here, who was recently named Dame Emeritus last week by the local chapter of Les Dames d'Escoffier at the Southern Food and Beverage Museum. She's been so active in the community for so many years, in the restaurant realm, but also just a lot of good works too. And we say, yay, Bonnie, congratulations. It was very nice. A lot of people honored her there too. And now my picks. An exhibit featuring works from artist Keith Saulnier's career is running now until June 2nd at the New Orleans Museum of Art. Visit NOMA's website for more info. This year's Ferret Street Festival, which is now under the administration of the Rotary Club of New Orleans Riverbend, is tomorrow. The festival is located between Napoleon and Valmont on Ferret Street. And the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra will be doing a special performance at the Mahalia Jackson Theater tomorrow night called Cirque Musica Heroes and Villains, which will feature popular and classical music as well as physical feats. Visit LPO Music, of course, for more information. That's .com. Looking ahead, there'll be an opening reception next Thursday night for an exhibit featuring the work of local artists who in Jazz Fest crafts and folk-like areas. And that is at the Ween Center, 1209 Rampart. You get a sneak preview of some of the stuff, that wonderful items that you'll see at the Jazz Fest, April 12th to May 3rd. And now we will leave you with clips from this year's Stella and Stanley Screaming Contest with views, of course, from last weekend's Tennessee Williams Festival. Nathan Rager, who you will see first, was the first place winner. Thank you, WWL-TV, and thank you all very much, and thank you for watching. Good night.
I've changed my mind. I've changed my mind.
You want to leave?
Hey, Stanley! Very
Yes, darling.
Stella! Stella!
All right then.
This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area. And by New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation, New Orleans, where stories are created. Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich.